The Sunday Times has obtained clips, it says, are of the alleged heist ringleader in the robbery and associated events at President Cyril Ramaphosa's PhalaPhala farm 2 years ago. In it, the alleged mastermind says it was, quote, so easy to rob the president's bushveld farm. Investigative journalist Aron Hyman is one of the authors of that report and joins me now. Good evening, Aron. Thank you very much for your time. In a context of information warfare currently playing out in South Africa, everything we see or hear, we view with huge doses of skepticism and caution. So to begin with the work that went into verifying the authenticity of this recording.
Hi, Iman, and thanks for having me. Yes, of course, we have to be very cautious about what we take in and what we look at. So naturally, the way in which we obtained this recording was through our sources whom we trust and place a lot of trust into. And then secondly, the recording itself, and in terms of trying to verify its authenticity, we've been sitting with a few cross references, so documents that we can use as cross references to try and verify whether this document is authentic and whether the person who spoke in this document, whether this recording was authentic, and whether the person who spoke is Manuela David. And it does appear to us that our sources were correct in that there's a lot of things that at the time when this recording was made in July last year, it wasn't public knowledge as such, and that it could only have been a few people who could have known that. One of those things, as an example, is another element of our story this week, which is a raid which occurred or allegedly occurred at the residence of two of the other accused. This raid emanated from an inquiry number which was registered in early March, or in March 2020, shortly or a month after the PhalaPhala burglary. So he references that raid in this voice recording. There are other points of reference as well that leads us to believe that it's authentic.
All right. So high levels of satisfaction in terms of your authentication process. So you mentioned Emanuela David. Tell us more about him. He is the man named as being the alleged orchestrator of these events, who is apparently heard in the recording spilling the beans on how the crime was conceived. Share the key details of his alleged revelations.
Okay, so the key details, and I guess this is probably the most important one, is that he claims, and these claims were verified to us by underworld sources in a story that we published 2 weeks ago. He claims that he and his accomplices only stole $800,000 in not $4 million, which has been mentioned in the report, and it might also give us a bit of a clue as to why President Cyril Ramaphosa was saying much less was stolen. So that's the one aspect of it. He also talks about how they got the information, how they got it from a cleaner who worked at the PhalaPhala main house, and how she gave them. She discovered that this leather sofa had US currency in it, and she was telling a friend of hers who we believe was perhaps a cousin of David, and they then said, we don't believe you that this money is there, bring us a sample. She brought them, according to the speaker in this voice recording, she brought them a sample of 200 notes, and they saw that and believed that it was real US currency, and then they simply planned on how to break into the property and apparently did it. He also talks about how he spent the money in Cape Town on nightclubs and things like that. And then, but one crucial thing about the context of this recording, it seems that whoever made this recording and whoever's doing the interrogating, they are trying to recoup some of the money, it doesn't sound like they are particularly interested in following up a criminal investigation as such.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that's interesting, because I wanted to ask you a little bit about the identity of the person that was doing the interview, and I think you've answered sufficiently there. What I want to come to is what you interpret as being the objective of the people behind this recording and its availability now.
I'm going to get a lot of hate mail on Twitter for answering this, but to me, it's so. When I was speaking with Underworld sources 2 weeks ago, when we were reporting on Fraser's alleged meeting with a certain Underworld figure in Cape Town, it appears that the idea was that the next Zondo Commission report was coming. And that there was sort of the expectation that criminal charges may emanate. That didn't happen within the time frame that I was given when we were researching that article. But given this the ANC elective conference at the end of the year, given the Zondo Commission reports, that naturally the final one, which we're expected to get this week, is going to look into SSA. It is going to look at Arthur Fraser's tenure there. It's it looks like it could be quite a potent sort of release of information. We don't have access to all of the information, but it does seem, and I think it's quite obvious to everybody else that it comes at a time which is politically expedient for a certain faction within the ANC.
Yeah.
But it is also, that being said, it is also a very, very important issue that we as South African citizens need to look at and say, if this is true, if our president is implicated in these sorts of activities, as is alleged, it's not something that we should sweep under the carpet. Certainly, I don't think it's good news for South Africa in general. I don't think we are in for a stable political environment if President Ramaphosa has to step aside, but that's another question, another matter, I think.
Well, interesting days, Aron, because as you and I know fully well, information warfare in South Africa is not new. We've been down a road where we've been bitten by certain pieces of information, and commissions of inquiries have flowed out of those. And so a heightened sense of vigilance around what we receive, how we interpret that, and how it all stacks up against the facts. So we appreciate you talking to us this evening and sharing your views on that recording. Aron Hyman is an investigative journalist with the Sunday Times.